paid out 90% of what they had. So they retained 10%. And when the fundamental side of the lending is slashing, how do you expect people that run it to have any rules over their salaries and bonuses?
I thought the problem with the banks, Mark, was that they're not lending any money.
They lend money to who they want and when they want. They get money issued from the Bank of England by the government, through the government, which the government has to pay back to the government. But you're talking about the banks that are RBS and all the others that lend money to little you and I. If I put £100,000 in a bank, say Lloyds Bank, my bank, they can actually lend out 900,000.
All right, Mark. It gets a bit technical for me, I'm afraid, that one. Andre's in Victoria. What do you think, Andre? Good morning.
Hello. I think it's all just getting bogged down in personal attacks on different bankers. I wish both Miliband and Cameron would try and focus on trying to actually change the rules on these things. I think one big thing is we talk about the distinction between state-owned banks and private sector, but the truth is none of these private sector banks would exist in their current form if we hadn't bailed out the likes of RBS and Lloyds. So I think the distinction's a bit loose, to be honest.
So what do you want them to do, Andre? What do you want the government to do to change things?
I think they really need to address and regulate how these banks use their money. I mean, a lot of people talk about how much money they have in reserve and how much they lend out, whether they lend out to little people, and also whether, for example, I do agree with Miliband's suggestions of having like a proper worker on the board of compensation, for example. So I think part of the problem is this is all a big cartel. No one's going to lower their executive salary because they know none of the other banks are going to lower their executive salary. But if we had real people on the board, then that might change.
I think still one of the biggest problems, Andre, is they are not lending money to small and medium-sized businesses which are desperate for money to expand or even to keep going.
I know, and the ridiculous thing is they're paying themselves massive bonuses on the back of making loads of money because they got cheap money from the Bank of England, which was supposed to go out to small businesses, and instead it's going into their pockets. And this is actually, I used to be a banker myself, so I know that, everyone's aware of what's happening, and there just doesn't seem to be the right amount of guilt. But the problem is, a lot of these bankers are shielding themselves behind the fact that they work in the private sector, which I just don't think is a definition that works these days.
No, it doesn't anymore. We saw the collapse of so-called moral hazard. That is, you risk all your money and you lose it. It all goes wrong with the government have to step in. But Andrew, you say you're a former banker. What's always struck me is manufacturing is still a bigger part of our economy than finance. It's more important. But you don't get these salaries and people who run factories and make things that you get from people who shift cash around.
Because the problem is that there are these powerful people in manufacturing sort of hanging around our politicians and such. Like I said, I do think it's a little bit of a cartel. There's always these threats that if we're not paid massive bonuses, we'll go elsewhere. Well, I think it's about time we start calling their bluff, to be honest.
All right, Andre, thank you very much for that. It's going to go on and on, the banker story, Kevin.
Yeah, well, quite rightly, because in a time of austerity, when people are
ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬੜੀ ਮੁਸੀਬਤ ਹੈ ਪੰਜ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਡਾਊਨ ਨੇ ਮਕਾਨ
this is unfair, it's unfair, and this idea that someone can
Yeah, 4x4 ਨੂੰ ਕੰਮ ਦਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਕੱਲ ਉਹ ਲਾਇਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ
shareholders, the big shareholders, if they live here, well, they're all on the same gravy train. They're all scratching each other's backs.
Yeah, I think, and of course it's going to be a political football backwards and forwards between Miliband and Cameron. Now, after the news, the front page of the Sunday Telegraph today, a very good exclusive. It says over 100 Tory MPs are revolting. Perhaps I should rephrase that. Over 100 Tory MPs are rebelling over wind farms and the government's backing for them. We'll be speaking to the former Shadow Home Secretary David Davis to ask why he's added his name to this list. Has the Green agenda, has it had its day? Do have your say. You can call us now on 0845 6060 973 plus. We're going to keep you up to date throughout the programme with the weather. All that coming up on London's Biggest Conversation.
It's 11 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Holly Ford. The Highways Agency has told LBC 97.3 most of the roads around London are now clear after last night's snowfall, but they're still advising drivers not to travel today unless it's absolutely necessary. Regional Operational Manager John Caldwell has told us they need the roads free to get on with their job.
I would say to people, don't travel unless you absolutely have to, and I mean absolutely have to. Because I need now to spend the rest of the day getting the roads that are not clear. We need to snow plough them, we need to grit them, we need to clear away abandoned vehicles and to get the roads all back open again and the grit down so that by the time we go back to work tomorrow, the roads are all clear and we can get everybody back to work.
The tubes are operating with minor delays on most lines. Only the Northern and Piccadilly are free of problems at the moment. Heathrow Airport said to be running with delays because of a combination of last night's snow and heavy fog, but both runways are open. LBC 97.3's Juliet Spare is at Terminal 5.
Well, those who had their flights cancelled last night are now making their way back to Terminal 5 to go through the long process of checking in again. More flights have been cancelled this morning. I've been told around 40% of the flights out of Heathrow have been disrupted. And last night, after spending 8 hours stuck on the runway, people were taken off the aircraft and offered hotels, but told to pay £200 per person up front. And I was told that some people were told that the hotels were full, so they ended up spending the night and now the day at Heathrow Terminal 5.
Flights are fully operational in Luton with some delays, and there are delays of up to an hour at Stansted today. All scheduled flights though at Gatwick have taken off and arrived safely with no cancellations. But despite the disruption for many because of the first snowfall of the winter, some people are having a very special day. We spoke to Flo, who's been on Primrose Hill this morning and is now celebrating an engagement.
Conditions were perfect when we got up here. There was just snow everywhere, and as they wandered down and people stopped on a path where there were no other tracks, and I was just like, they just life.
Emergency pictures of London in the snow on our website, lbc.co.uk. In other news this morning, William Hague has called Russia and China's veto of a UN Security Council resolution on Syria indefensible and says it will leave the two countries isolated internationally. The Foreign Secretary's also pledged to keep up the pressure following 2 days of bloodshed in Syrian flashpoint bombs, which left some 250 people dead.
I think it's a great consequences for their influence in the Middle East, turning their backs on the Arab world, and it will make more likely what they say they don't want, and that is continued violence and instability in Syria.
And that is half car again. Use on the way, Andy.
Triples the risk of developing mouth cancer. That's the message of a new government advertising campaign. The adverts encourage alcohol-free days, not drinking at home before going out, and using smaller glasses. Public Health Minister Anne Milton's been telling Andrew and Kevin the new guidelines will surprise some people.
We're all aware of sort of business drinker, people very drunk in town and all the law and order problems, but we're not actually aware that drinking is a bit above the guidelines every day can cause quite serious damage to health.
London's travel, the snow isn't causing any reported problems at the moment. It has made it a lot more slow going on the roads though. And in Brentwood, the A12's closed in both directions between junction 12 at Shenfield and 11 at Brook Street because of an accident involving a lorry. It's likely to stay closed for the rest of the morning. London's weather, a cold and frosty afternoon with mist, cloud and light winds ahead. Highs of 2 Celsius today. Right now it's 1 Celsius at Piccadilly Circus. LBC 97.3, it's 4 minutes past 11.
Which one is incorrectical? A cow has 4 stomach compartments, hamsters have X-ray vision, or the new Polo comes with free insurance and a deposit contribution of £500 with Volkswagen Finance. Yeah, a Polo is a great deal. Of course, the odd one out is the hamster with X-ray vision. Easy to see through that one, really. A new Polo with free insurance and a deposit contribution of £500? That is unbelievable value. To order a brochure, visit volkswagen.co.uk. Selected models only. Free insurance available to over 21s only. Deposit contribution from Volkswagen Finance only. 7.9% APR representative. Conditions apply, subject to status. Available on retail sales only till the 31st of March 2012.
LBC
BBC 97.3. Call 0845 60 60 973.